Well, hello there and welcome to Elite Dangerous. This is going to be the first of hope long streak of videos where I teach you guys how to fly a spaceship. Because of course this is Elite, this is in the space, this is not a plane, this is a spaceship. Now, if you have some experience in long past games like X-Wing versus T-Fighter, or any of those space simulators, you will probably be very confounded by Elite Dangerous. Elite Dangerous, let's begin by saying it's not completely realistic. There are some, I think, necessary to a point gameplay concessions, and not everything is truthful to physics. I'm speaking about how the ship handles, not about things like hyperspace or the warp drive, because that could be explained by technology to be developed in the future. But from the fact that, well, you have a top limit of speed in real space, when in real life the top speed is the speed of light. And well, some things about how the ship handles and behaves and maneuvers the best at certain speeds and not at others, which makes not a little sense in vacuum. But other than that, Elite has a very powerful, realistic base on Newtonian physics. You probably won't have to experience those if you don't want to, but they are there. So quite probably when you start up Elite Dangerous for the first time, you will find that there are a lot of things which are very different from those old games of the past or other arcade spaceship games, and of course it's really different from air combat simulators with planes bound to Earth. Now the essential difference between a spaceship and a plane is that the plane is on the air. So it has to fight off some resistance, some drag that's not there in space. Also, when you are in a plane, you are close to a planet. And while in the future, in a pretty far future, I think after the release has happened, Elite Dangerous is planning to expand on to allow for planetary flight and planetary landing. Right now, all your encounters are going to be in deep space. So gravity is not going to be a concern. There will be no planet pulling you down. So concepts are up, down, lose a little bit of sense in the space. In space, something is up and down relative to you, but it's not an absolute up and down. I mean, if I'm in a plane and I tell my wingman, hey, up there is something, well, the wingman will look up in the same direction I am. But if I'm in space and I'm in a spaceship and I say, hey, I see something up there, and I look up, well, maybe my wingman is rolled in another direction, and when he looks up, sees nothing because it's in another direction from him. So there's a certain difference in what regards to mechanics. There's no sense in potential energy in this game. There is no trade speed for altitude, for instance, because there's no altitude. And there's also a very wide difference in what regards to referential points of view. But in this particular video, what we are going to see is a very basic approach and a very basic beginning on how to fly one of these ships. Now, if you, of course, probably if you're watching this channel, it's because you have played War Thunder at one point or another, or are interested in air combat simulators or air combat in general, close to the Earth. You will be probably very familiarized with the principle of the three rotational axes, which are the way that you maneuver your plane in. Those three rotational axes are, of course, pitch, roll, and yaw. Well, as you can see, those three axes of rotations are present in this game as well. However, in Elite Dangerous, you have 3 more degrees of independence, let's call it that way. You have 6 ways to move your ship. 3 rotational, 3 translational. Now, if you have ever flown a helicopter simulator, and I have in the past, you will know how different it is to fly, for instance, a helicopter than a plane, because the principles are very different. And actually, this I think this game is really going to be much better understood at the beginning by those who have some experience in chopper simulators, because helicopters move in 6 different ways. You have the roll, you have the pitch, you have the yaw, but you also have throttle up, or down, which is translational, or side to side. Those are already 5, but there's one more. There's thrust, that you can move forward, or you can move backwards. In a plane, of course, you can't move backwards, because if you stop in the sky, you're going to die. Okay, so those are the 6 different motions. They actually are labeled, and in physics you know this as 6 degrees of freedom. You can translate in the horizontal, in the vertical, and along your own ship axis, and you can rotate through the vertical, horizontal, and your own axis. That's how it works. And now you are going to need to learn this, because it's pretty fun to fly between some asteroids when you can, well, move to a side from this, rotate your way here, and move up over this to go down on the other side. Those kind of things. It's not just that it's fun, which is, well, quite probably you are not going to fight a lot in, well, actually probably you are going to fight a lot in near asteroid belts, because mining operations are going to happen near well, these asteroids, and whether you are one of those who are mining or one of those who are hunting the miners, you will need to operate near the asteroid belts. But anyway, most of your encounters probably will happen in deep space with nothing to worry you about. However, those 3 axes of movement, other than just the rotational ones that you have seen, are extremely important to control, because if you don't control them, you are giving the enemy an advantage, because probably he will. So that's kind of a thing and a theme in this game. You fly your ship in ways that have little to do on how you would fly a plane. Now there's another difference, and sharp difference. As I told you, this is a space simulator built on a very solid, realistic Newtonian base. Now, as you know, in space there's no drag. If you start a movement, there's nothing to stop you. It's a kind of perpetual movement. If you have ever seen a Kerbal Space Program video, Orbiter video, or if you know a little bit about space mechanics, you know what I'm talking about. In space, if you start moving one way, there's nothing to stop you. You will keep on moving forever in that direction unless something stops you. Now, in Elite it's the same. Seems not, because you just have seen me flying this thing, not that different from what you would fly something in War Thunder, for instance. Well, exception made for the up and down, left and right translation and all that, yes. However, that's because I wasn't flying my ship. And that's an important thing to understand. Let's deploy the weapons for a while so you have a reference point. Yeah, so you can see where I'm aiming. Okay. The fact is that right now I'm not flying my ship, and if I do this, and I start doing, well, whatever I want to do here, maneuver in one way or another, moving to the asteroid field, and do this, well, kind of, I was going to say aerobatics, but they are not aerobatics because you are not in air. But if you want to do any kind of movement, the fact remains, you are not flying your ship. You are actually telling the computer what you want to do with it. Now this is fly by wire. You are actually telling, now I'm telling the computer I want to roll left, and I want to pitch up, and I want to translate leftwards while I move forwards, or rightwards as I move forwards, and I want to stop doing that and keep on moving forwards. And now I want to go kind of horizontal, and now I want to stop my engines and stop all forward movement. I'm not directly flying my spaceship. I'm telling the computer what I want it to do. Okay? Now there's a way where you can actually fly your ship, but it's going to be complicated because you are in space, and in space different rules apply. So for instance, if I go and switch off the computer,
flight assist off.
Flight assist off. Now suddenly I'm just going to do a slight left roll movement. I have released my hand from the joystick, and I keep on going and going and going, and nothing will ever stop me doing this rotation until I go with the joystick and I apply a command in the other direction to stop me. Same pitch up, keeps on going, never stops until I stop it. And of course I can overcorrect. I need exactly the same input in the opposite direction to stop me. It's quite complicated, believe me. As you can see, I'm actually displacing myself. I have to stop myself because the ship is not going to do that. I'm displacing sideways, it seems. So I'm going to try to there, and I'm going to try to, there you go, stop myself. Okay, what happens with forward movement? Well, what I do is to apply thruster, but I don't have a set speed. If I do this, I'm going to keep on moving in the same direction I was moving until I stop myself with thrusters or change direction or do whatever I want. So it's perfectly doable to do all these years and get lost. What I'm doing, where I'm going, I don't know, because yeah. So the idea would be to stop the roll, stop the pitch, stop the advance, and now stop the lateral movement. And now go a little bit down, it seems. And now we would be stopped. That's kind of hovering. Right now I'm not using my engines at all. I'm just using the thrusters. And it just works like in real space. Now of course it's not totally realistic for several reasons, because there's a, for instance, in this flight assistance computer mode off, hold on a second while I try to stabilize. It's complicated. It's kind of complicated. Okay, let's apply thrusters. And I'm still applying thrusters, but I have a hard cap. As you can see, I'm moving at 160, I think it's meters per second. I can't go any faster than this. And that's, in real life, this doesn't happen. If you keep on pushing your forward thrusters, you are going to accelerate until you eventually come close to the speed of light, and then you can't reach that, because that's a physical impossibility. Right? You can see, by the way, that I'm firing my computer. There you go, finally stable. If I want to stop now, right now I have the engine switched off. In fact, you are going to see this. We will enter into this function. Hold on. Landing gear. No, it's models. Sorry. Now I don't have any engines, but I still am moving. So I can drift with the engines off, and I still have the rotational thrusters. So I can kind of pitch up and down very, very slowly, but you can see that I still have those thrusters. You can see them there. So if I switch the drives on again, now I can use retro thrusters and stop my ship, sort of, because I have to accumulate for the error in the commands, and then I have to go a little bit up, and then I have to go a little bit down. Well, and we are kind of stopped right now. Well, this is actually really useful, because it makes you unexpected. Everyone is going to be flying with the computer system on, and for, I would say, 99% of the time you will as well. But if you know in which moment use a 100% of flight assistance off, you are going to be in a huge advantage. You have to be very careful. You have to master this control. Well, not really master, at least control it and keep it more or less controlled, because if you don't, it's going to eat you alive. I mean, if you don't know how to handle this, look at this, it's like floating. By the way, I really need a different joystick because this one is not perfectly centered, but whatever. Yeah, well, that's going to be it for this video. Well, let's switch the assist on.
Flight assist on.
As you can see, suddenly everything returns to normal. Much more control, much more precise, much easier, more intuitive for those who have never experienced a simulator in space. But
flight assist off.
This mode is what will probably give you the upper hand in most combats. So my advice would be to start well, practicing a little bit. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this, and there will be more lessons about this game, of course. Probably next one is going to be, well, about the UI, the different menus, the frontal presentation, what's there, what's the HUD, what's in this, well, these different utility screens, and what you can switch on, off, etc. I hope you have fun, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and see you later.